if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Wow.
Jeez. Wow. I mean, that is an incredibly blunt message. And I know you have a lot of experience dealing with these storms. You don't say something like that lightly, Mayor.
She tries to make it political.
I've never said that. And 10 to 12.
So with everything going on with the hurricanes lately, currently Florida has Hurricane Milton bearing down on the Gulf Coast. And that's in the wake of Hurricane Helene basically destroying everything in its path all the way up to North Carolina and possibly beyond. We're going to have a look at Patrick Bet-David and crew over on the PBD podcast in Valuetainment, breaking down kind of what's going on, given some of the numbers, as well as we're going to have a look at a bit of the controversy going on between Ron DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, if you don't know by now, where you been. But between him and Kamala Harris, kind of the ongoings, the back and forth with them. And before we get into it, I want you to notice that Patrick Bet-David has his Yankees shirt on and his Yankees necklace, and I got my Royals hat on. And I just want to say, may the best team win this playoff series. May the best Royals team win this playoff series. So with that, anyways, let me know the team that you're rooting for in the comments. I'm just curious. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm not in Kansas City anymore, but I grew up there and I love these teams, and it's a really fun time to be a Kansas City sports fan, frankly, because we don't get very many opportunities when it comes to baseball being in the playoffs. And so I'm really excited today. We got another game tonight, and with that, let's go ahead and have a look at this video.
By the way, only 2% of the houses that were impacted by the Hurricane Helene have homeowners insurance. I'm sorry, not homeowners, have flood insurance. Only 2%. You know what that means? You have a $300,000 house, gone. And you don't have the money. It's wiped out. And FEMA's given them what? $750. You know, I thought it was $750 per person in the house. It's $750 per household. Jeez. If you live in a house with 6 people, it's just $750. Okay, while this is taking place. However, as if that wasn't bad enough already, now you got Hurricane Milton on its way. And I know you've done a couple skits that's funny and all this other stuff. There's nothing funny about this. This is now Cat 5, and it's at a point. By the way, these are people leaving Tampa. They're literally leaving Tampa. This is a good picture. I saw pictures with traffic that was, it was horrible. And Rob, if you can pull up the mayor of Tampa, what she just said in an interview yesterday with CNN, if you can pull that up. She's been interviewed, and she's being asked, hey, how bad is it? Look what she says. She doesn't flinch. Listen to this.
It's halfway through this.
This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Wow.
Jeez. Wow. I mean, that is an incredibly blunt message. And I know you have a lot of experience dealing with these storms. You don't say something like that lightly, Mayor.
She tries to make it political.
I've never said that. And 10 to 12 foot surge. If this takes a jog to the south, that's going to save us from the storm surge. But it stays on the track that it's projected to be on right now. Or if it goes a bit north, would be even worse. Some of the predictions are saying that Pinellas County to the south of us, the entire county is going to be underwater. So this is something that I have never seen in my life.
And I can tell you that. So she asked her question, says, so what do you think about all this stuff with political, that they're not doing this and Kamala's not doing this? You know what the lady says? I actually like what she said. She says, no, that is not true. I'm in communication with the president, and our governor DeSantis has been very active on this, been helping us out. Rob, play the exchange with Kamala, what she says about DeSantis and how DeSantis responds, because I think there's a feud going on here between the two of them. Go ahead, Rob.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
Moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of just...
Okay. So she's saying it's selfish. It's about political gamesmanship. Do you have one from Ron DeSantis, Rob? Go ahead and play this clip.
And we've been laser focused on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. Right. I've got peoples whose lives are on the line. I've got peoples whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games.
You can pause it right there.
She is
By the way, he's the reason why we live in Florida right now. Yep. Why at least I'm in Florida right now. He's the reason. Because this guy gets stuff done, period. Yep. If there's one thing about him, he may not be charismatic or charming or good on interviews or marketing or even doesn't like people. Like, he doesn't like doing interviews. He just wants to be, he's a homebody with his wife and kids. He's not presidential. He's not. Yeah. He's not. But I tell you, he's one hell of a governor. I mean, he could have a future, things could change and adjust, but he's one hell of a governor. Living in the state of Florida, knowing he's in charge and stuff like this happen, you don't have a lot to worry about. No one's going to move more quicker, more swift to get things done than this guy.
Yeah, he doesn't need Kamala. This guy's been governor for, 6+ years now, maybe even longer. He doesn't need Kamala here. Here's what's interesting about this, getting back to the point of Tampa.
Real quick, before Adam speaks, I'll say that I completely agree with what they're saying right there. Being a Florida resident, voting for Ron DeSantis in his first term, finding out that his opponent, Andrew Gilliam or whatever his name was, turned out to be such a degenerate, and then seeing the success and how Ron DeSantis fights against this woke culture. In retrospect, I didn't know at the time how great he was going to be, but in retrospect, I realized, that was something I was super proud that I voted for him for. The second most proud vote that I'd ever cast in my life. First being President Donald Trump in 2016, and then also again in 2020. But I've never actually, in history, felt proud that I had voted for somebody until these two guys. And I just want to say that Ron DeSantis has done a great job for Floridians. Not only has he put Florida in a position where we should be able to take care of ourselves in the wake of these storms. After Hurricane Helene, he had Florida in such a good position that he was able to actually send crews out to help other states who were, victims of Hurricane Helene. So I just want to say that I totally echo that sentiment that Ron DeSantis is a fantastic governor. I'm kind of concerned about who's going to follow him up. I'm hoping maybe his wife does, to be honest, because I'm really happy with the results that he has given Floridians over his 6 years so far. And thankfully we have another 2 years before we have to worry about replacing him. But hopefully in those 2 years, we'll be able to determine and establish a candidate that will be able to just take the reins and run with it, the position that he's set us up with. I've heard rumors that Matt Gaetz is considering doing the job. But, frankly, I'd vote for him. But I feel like we need him up there in Congress fighting in the position that he's in. So I don't want to, rob Peter to pay Paul or whatever that phrase is. But anyways, let's get back to the video.
Tampa has not been hit by a storm like this in over 100 years. The weirdest thing, I'm born and raised in Florida. I've dealt with Hurricane Andrew, hurricanes left and right. These two hurricanes that just came through, what was the one that just came through? Helene. And now Milton. This is a Category 5.
Almost 6. They're saying 6 too.
Insane. But here's the most interesting thing. Every hurricane I've ever seen, fact check me, comes from Africa, comes west, comes through the Bahamas, comes through Jamaica, destroys the Caribbean, maybe hits Miami, maybe hits Fort Lauderdale, goes through the Gulf of Mexico, maybe goes up the Panhandle. This started in the Gulf of Mexico?
Weird.
I don't know what's going on here. I've never seen anything like this. And the fact that Tampa is a sitting duck, they've not been hit by a hurricane, I guess, in 100 years. It's a very unusual path, and I'm really praying for the people of Tampa.
I listen, and our hearts, our prayers, our everything goes out to these people. I mean, we're gonna feel it here as well. But you know what pisses me off the most is the fact that during all this, on the 4th, and I'm gonna get into it, Tony Blinken announced, our government, Joe Biden, $157 million to Lebanon. This was on the 4th. Meanwhile, parents were tying their children to trees because the water was rushing down so much. The parents were getting drifted off, Pat, and dying, and they were trying to save their children. All that is happening, and she goes up there and says, we're going to give $750 to a family, as if that's going to do anything. So when we tell people that this administration, this government, doesn't care if you live or die, it's not just lip service, okay? And when we say America first, that's what America first has to be, okay? So far this year, Pat, and Rob, I sent you the graph. This is how much we don't have money to help Americans in North Carolina, in Florida, and all these places. So far this year, we've given $24.4 billion to Ukraine, $11.3 billion to Israel, $1.9 billion to Ethiopia, $1.6 billion to Jordan, $1.4 billion to Egypt, and it keeps going. And $9,000 per illegal immigrant that has entered the United States. Okay, and we give them housing, we give them everything, and people that are dying and drowning in the United States, Tom, get $750, and then Alejandro Mayorkas,
each per household.
Alejandro Mayorkas, who I despise, earlier this year said, Pat, we're good. We're ready for hurricane season. Now he's saying we don't have the money. We don't have the money to help Americans. Now we're about to get hit again, and we are shit out of luck. I'm sorry for my language. And this is what bothers me, Pat. This is all of our tax money. All of our tax money, and then when we need it, where is it? So the analogy is this, Pat. You live in a house, you're putting your money in a piggy bank. You're filling it up for emergencies or whatever. You leave, Pat. Your parents are taking the money and giving it all to the neighbors. Neighbors. Then something, God forbid, happens to you, your car accident, you don't have insurance, and you're like, hey, mom and dad, I need the money. And they go, we gave it to all the neighbors. That's exactly what the hell they're doing with our money. So again, and I hate to bring it back to the voting, if you vote for these people, this is what's going to happen. We should be America first, not every other country. And now we're seeing it firsthand, Tom. Disaster is hitting, and they don't have money to help us.
And Vinny, my favorite person on the show, with another mic drop. I love how passionate and America first he is. And if you do too, if you are America first, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, because that's my main focus, right? Being America first. And I agree with everything that he just said. Not another penny to foreign countries while Americans are suffering. And, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I don't understand how Kamala Harris and the Joe Biden administration could be considering anything else right now. But with that said, I want to mention that Kamala Harris has an opportunity here, and I don't want to help her out. But, this would be a very convincing campaign ploy for her to basically spend the next month in North Carolina, in Georgia, in all these places that have been affected by Hurricane Helene and that are about to be affected by Hurricane Milton, basically do nothing but boots on the ground, serving the people, handing out waters, doing interviews with local news stations, things like that, showing that she's a true America First candidate person, and that the people are her priority. But instead, she's gone on, The View, I believe. She's gone on Stephen Colbert, and she, fake drank a beer. I mean, it was so cringe. She went on that weird podcast the other day that was, I don't even know about sex or whatever, typically about their, what the podcast is focused on. She is totally disconnected with Americans, and that is not the type of person that we need to elect to run our country, to be the most powerful person in the world. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has actually put boots on the ground in North Carolina. He's donated some of his own money, along with Elon Musk and people that support Donald Trump. And, he's basically displayed the ability that, we've already seen it over the first 4 years of his presidential experience, that he is America first, that he does care about Americans, and that he can and has the ability to connect with the American people. All the little stories that we've heard about him helping people out in trouble, the woman that lives in Trump Tower basically free, all these type of things. But there's none of that when it comes to Kamala Harris. She's the Democrat that basically fails upward every single time. She doesn't have a strong track record at all. And, I just want to encourage people to get out there and vote this year as early as possible. Fill out Republican down ticket, vote for Donald Trump, and hopefully we can help get this country back to an America first mentality. And, with that, if you agree, like I said, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.